Alright guys, right, I got a little rig vid and it's regarding a question what's just popped up on one of the videos. Can I make the bow rig? And John Good, yeah, I can do that for you. When I do this, I've got to be careful where I'm looking because when I turn that light even brighter, then I can't see shiz. Yeah, so you'll see what I mean. That's off. There you go. That's bloody bright, isn't it? That's that sun blesser like what I've had for donkeys, and it's still going strong. So right, okay, so yes, we'll get into this bow rig, obviously the twanger rig, yeah, the stretchy rig and that. Where the video's gone, I don't know, it's probably been deleted or I booted it off either fucking way. So yeah, obviously you're gonna need some components, aren't you? You're gonna need a splicing needle, yeah. One with a gate, what actually fucking works, yeah. You want to make sure you got your gate and you got also your tip as well. And also have a few of those spare because you do tend to go through them like bloody clappers. Yeah. You're going to need some type of elastic, right? Now, I personally prefer to use this stuff. As you can see, it's all brand new and sealed and that. Oh, fucking hundreds of them, like. This is 1.2mm thickness and I find it just right. But you can do it with marker elastic, also pole elastic and that lot as well. Now if you go pole elastic, you can actually get thinner diameters anyway, and if you do, go for like a number 7, something like that. Yeah, it's a little bit thinner. So if you try using marker elastic, really, you're looking at say like a number 18, sometimes number 20, and it's a little bit too thick and it's an absolute swine to get through. Now you can just feed it once, but the thing is when you feed it once, your knots always aren't that great. Obviously after a couple of stretches and all that, like it just pops out and then obviously you got nothing in it. So here we are. So very fine, as you can see. Yeah, it is very fine. Yeah, if you get your main line, say you're using 15-pound main line, if you double that up, that's the thickest part, and then obviously on the thin side it's even thinner. Yeah, so this is what I like to use, 1.2mm, and it's mega stretchy. It's actually a lot better than what pole elastic is, so you do have more in it, so you can actually really bower it up and actually make it go even more. Now you're going to also want some type of leader. Yeah, you can use lead free or lead core. I'm using corded cable, and to be honest with you, not many people use lead core now because obviously a lot of places don't allow you to use it. So lead core is the same thing, it's going to do the same thing, and it generally works out a bit cheaper as well. So when you're doing this, give yourself about 1.5 foot, maybe about 2 foot. Chop that off. Yeah, it doesn't matter what colour. Obviously, you can mimic obviously whatever colour the lake bed is to obviously what you want. Right. So because it's lead core, we're going to obviously pull the lead out. So now that's lead free. There's the lead in my hand. Don't bin that because it does come in handy for putting like putty on rigs and stuff like that. Yeah, just coil it around and then put the putty around that. Right. So here we are. So what you're going to do, you're going to do 2 basic splicers. Now I could actually lower that down if I want to, but if I want to have a really stretchy bow, obviously I'll grab a longer rig. Yeah, so it's obviously up to you how long you want this rig to be, just like it would be any other rig. Right, so we're going to splice a loop into one end. I'm trying to see because of that bastard light in front of me is going to be a fucking nightmare. And it is, because I can't see what I'm doing. Now you're doing this just like you'd making up a normal leader basically. So a normal splice. So there's one. Pull the gate open a little bit. Close a little bit, should I say. Try and get that into there. I don't know where my other needle's gone. I like to use a quarter one. I'm using a cheap Chinese one here at the minute. So all I'm doing at this end is forming a loop, yeah, because I like to just go with a loop to begin with, and then obviously I'll put the metal end on the other end. So I always use like a pulley tool or something like that. I always tend to pop it inside the loop, pull it through. That way I know for well I've not pulled it through accidentally. Give it a little tug. Now I can open up this loop to however I want. So if I want to have a bigger loop so I can do like a loop to loop system, then I can do. There we are. So that is enough. So if I'm just putting a bit of metal work through there, that is perfect sort of size loop. So it'll just go loop to loop job. Right. Nothing protruding out as you can well see. Yeah, so that's all Jim Dandy. On this end itself, I'll put something on it just for sakes of it, like I'll probably put a spinner swivel on it if I got any left. I have. Now if you do get the Chinese ones or the cheaper version ones, what I like to always do is spin them in both parts of the actual end. So I'll spin this end, yeah, if you can see it, I'll spin that end, and then I'll spin the ring side end as well, because what I've noticed, the cheaper ones, sometimes they don't always spin, and you haven't really got a spinner rig then, have you? So yeah, that's spinning perfectly fine both sides. So we'll stick that one side. Now what we're going to do is do another splice, the same as what we did on the other end, but the only difference is we're actually going to put that bit of metal on there. Can't you tell I hate this needle? It takes forever. Right, so we'll poke it out. We'll put that tiny little ring onto there. This is just literally like doing a normal splicing thing, really, that's all it is. Now I always like to leave a little bit of a gap in there, so if it does need to want that bit more rotation, I always like to have, I don't like it up tight, yeah, same with the crimps, I don't like to have it tight. I always like to have, if you can work it out, if I spin it for you, yeah, you just see it, a tiny little loop, so it has still got that little bit of movement and that. So there's the rig itself. So that is roughly, once it's spliced up, that is about, say, 1.5 foot, yeah. If I put it on here, then it's over 30 centimeters, probably about 33 centimeters sort of thing. Right, so what I need to do now to turn that into a boa, obviously I can put whatever hook arrangement on there I want with a bit of shrink tube or one of them stupid bloody liner things that are just all over the place, yeah, like it ain't had Viagra. So I like to give myself a generous amount of this, that's why I order loads of it. Chop some off, where's the skizzers gone? There they are. So in that, we have got, if I can see from the light, about 2.5 foot. Yeah, so I'll put that one side. Don't need that part anymore, don't need that. Now it is entirely up to you which way you want to actually send the splicing needle through, whether it's going to be through bottom, through top, but I would rather use the other needle than that piece of Barry White, like, but it's not in there, is it? So I've got to use the piece of Barry White. Yeah, that. Right, now I don't like to go right up, yeah, I don't want to be going right down. So what I like to do, where the splice went through with the lead cut or lead free, whatever you're using, I like to give myself about 1 centimetre of separation instead of going right up to there. That way it's not going to make it stiff, it's just going to give it a really nice flow actually in the actual rig itself. Now all I'm doing now, I am splicing physically as much as I can get onto this needle. Now when it gets there, don't just stop, keep going, just keep butting it up, yeah, keep pushing it on. My gate's come out, so I'm trying to do this. I've got the light directly in my eyes now, but if I turn it off, you ain't going to see much. What I'm trying not to let it do is to fire back. So if it fires back, the needle's going to poke out and then it's buggered it all up like. So I'm trying to keep the leader straight onto my hand as I do it. Alright, it's just fired out. Right, if it's fired out, you can go two ways. You can either start again or you can finish the bow there. I don't like it there because I've still got quite a bit of excess, so I'm going to bring it back out, close the gate and then start again. Right, just give it attention just to make sure all those fibres are together. Let me get out the light. So 1 centimetre above the actual original splice, or below it should I say. Go on, get in that hole. Yeah, that's what she says. Unless you're a different way and can, then that's what he says. Keep it going. The thing is, the more you try putting on, it works as a spring. So as you push it, use these hands to hold it in place as well. but because I was talking to you, obviously it fired out on me. Now don't go past the gate, because if you go past that, you're not going to go anymore. And I want to try and go about the same as what I did on that other one, so a centimetre from the original splice. So there we are. So we have now got all that on there, and as you can see, it's gone really, really thick. But look at these. So there's a loop, there's that. So you know exactly how much has actually gone onto there, because that was over 1.5 foot, well, about 1.5 foot, wasn't it? Just over a foot. And we have only got a couple of inches there and a couple of inches there, so 4 inches. So there's well over a foot gone on there. So what we're going to do now is get our elastic, keep hold of this, don't let go, because otherwise you've got to mess about doing it all over again like I did. Double it up, make yourself a loop. Put that actually into your gated needle, close your latch. That's where you need like 3 pairs of hands. And then once you've done that, you can start to let this come back through. There we are. Just keep it all coming through. What's happening now, obviously your elastic is going in. So there we are. So that's the way I prefer to do it. So where your loop is, which is basically going to your rod, you want the loop coming up. Now once you've got that into that state, get this loop, push it through the loop what you've just pulled out, the elastic. And then once you've done that, get your tag ends, pull your tag ends down, and as you can see, this is getting a lot shorter now. So it's not like the length of the rig what it actually were originally, so I can go shorter. And this is where you're actually generating the bower, yeah, or the twang, or whatever you want to call it. Right, so now we've done that, we've got that set to where I want. So all you're going to do is a couple of granny knots. But I'll stick my finger up at you, yeah. So this is just my preference how I do it. So with the elastic, I put one on one side of the finger and the other side on the other. What I do then, I send that over, and then these I want to make a knot. So as I sent that loop through that side, I'm basically doing the same on this. Now you can cut these down a little bit if you want to, just to make it a little bit easier for you. So I'm going to do a couple of granny knots there. I'm not going tight, just nip it up. A couple on that side. And this is the joy we're using this material, because it is thinner, you're not ending up with a stupid sized knot, where when you use like pole elastic, then you're going to end up with a big knot. So once you've done that, pay attention which side you've just put them knots. Knot your leader through, over again should I say, and then put 2 knots on the other side. There we are. So what you can do from that, leave your tag ends on, check your knots, because that one's just try coming undone, so give it a little bit more tension. With it being elastic, it will try and undo. You can wet it, that'll help it as well sometimes. But before I finish, I always like to put another knot on the other side, just to finalise it. So I've got 2 knots one side, 2 knots the other side, and then go back again and then put a final knot on the opposite side. And then with that one, you can yank that one down. But don't yank it so it's going to snap. You want to be cutting it. If you yank it so it snaps, and then it will just all unravel. Right, so before cutting, that's the length of the rig now. What I'm doing now, I'm just gently stretching it. Don't go all in one, because all it'll do, the elastic, it will just snap. So just take your time with it, just to stretch it out until it is the full length, and then you can get your fuller tools and that, and then you can give it a little bit more tug then. I don't know where my puller tool is, so what I'll do, I'll use the ring actually on the scissors, Pull it right out. And then this way, you know for well when a fish has picked it up, it's not just go and then snapped it. So just take your time with it, just like you're doing like a fluorocarbon. You're stretching it in, pre-stretching it. There we are. So that's done. Once you've done that, get your tag ends. Chop them off, but leave yourself a couple of mil. You can soon put a bit of putty on there if you're paranoid about it. I don't tend to bother, I just leave it as it is. And then that is now your boa rig, which has shrunk down to roughly about 7 inches, yeah, from obviously the length of what I did. But once something picks it up, as long as you've got a heavy enough lead, obviously this is going to go. Yeah, and it just keeps that hook actually in place. So if they go on a full tension, it's going to snap back, and obviously just pull the hook in more. Yeah, so if they've only picked up the bait but not the hook, but the hook is around the mouth area or in the mouth, but it's not pointed in yet, then it will twang back and obviously grab. It can be anywhere. Most of the time it's bottom lip, but it can be anywhere. Depends on what actual hook pattern you put on there, and also obviously what rig, whether it's like going to be a Ronnie, a 360, whatever you want. But you don't have to put that end on it, a 360. You can put whatever you want on it. You can just have it loop to loop, so you can magnitude your rigs, or you can just put a ring on it. Yeah, and then obviously you can then use it as like a hinge stiffy sort of thing, but obviously with the added elasticity. Yeah, so there you go, John. There's your little vid done for you on your boa rig. Like I say, lead free, lead cut, use whatever you want really, but try to make sure it's like a 45-pound breaking strain, and then obviously you know where you're going to get your splicing needle through it. Some of these China ones, what you get, they're only like 35-pound, and I've not even found a splicing needle what goes through them. You need like a bloody sewing needle. Well, that's your key thing. Just make sure when you're tying it up, you do stretch it out, because you might just literally, like I say, just pull all the knots through, and then you ain't got a boa rig. It's just like a normal like leg core rig sort of thing. So let's twang away. Thanks for watching. See you later.